Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Ignite Your Heart and Soul. I am your host, Sara Troy, and my guest today is Jim Self. We had him on here last year, and we learned so much from him. Why? Because he's the co-author of the course in Mastering Alchemy. And the alchemy of our hearts, of our souls, of our spirits, of our very selves. Everything we need is all in here. We just have to kind of channel it and tap in and learn how to use it and kick out the chaos. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, how to navigate those crazy shifting times with ease and success. Easier said than done, isn't it? I understand. We have so much going on at the present moment, politically, environmentally, in our own lives of redirection. And of course, right now, for anybody who is empathic or sensitive, there's the moon, there's retrograde, there's a whole load of stuff in the works. How do we shift ourselves into ease and calmness so that we can go about reaching success in our own lives and whatever our pursuit is? Now, Jim has been doing this for a long time. He does beautiful videos that are wonderfully humorous, that really helps you tap in, tune in, channel in, and learn how to listen to yourself from the inside out. And he's got that mastered. So I am so looking forward to having you back here again, Jim. It's wonderful to have you back here, sharing your beautiful wisdom. We are in the summer. And of course, with summer, there is fires. There's always fires going on somewhere, whether it's physical fires or fires politically or fires everywhere. How do people find the calm amongst the chaos? How do they tune in, channel in, and focus on what really matters?
Hi, Sarah. Nice to be here with you, too.
So, my master, help us, Obi-Wan Kenobi. We need help in channeling that.
So the answer is unacceptable. It's just simply an unacceptable answer. The answer is, it's so simple that it is not something that 99% of us will choose in the process.
Right.
And it's as simple as taking a breath. It's as simple as beginning to understand what present time is, which is all you have. There is no past. There is no future. You just have right now. And so it's an unacceptable answer, though, because I'm so busy and I have so many things to do and it's so important and I have to stand up for this cause and I have to battle that cause and did you know she said, he said, and they said. And see, the first part that makes it unacceptable is all of that is happening because of you. It's not happening to you. It's happening because you are choosing this. Now, right here, everybody goes, oh, this guy's a little off, because why would I choose this horrible divorce that I'm in? Why would I choose getting fired, not having enough money, et cetera, et cetera? You choose. It's as simple as that. You choose everything that happens to you. And so taking responsibility for it is really kind of the first thing. Now, I'm not here to advocate you all have to take responsibility, but it is the kind of really one of the first pieces of this, choosing to be aware of what I'm doing and then choosing to shift it. And so this shift in consciousness, which really kicked in 2012, you know, I'm trying to make that simple. Think about it as if there was a new operating system put into your computer, and it's now faster, greater, more capacity, simpler, easier to use, except you have to clean out the old operating system and the baggage that you created in the old operating system to fully enjoy the new operating system. And so I'll say often, you can't take your baggage on this journey.
Absolutely. And, you know, the metaphor of the computer, you know, very often things that happen to us could be just simple malware or viruses, you know, that you've got to get in there. It's It's the old cosmic 2x4 saying you're not paying attention. You know, your computer has been begging for you to upgrade. Yes, the system may be initially hard for you to get around the process, but once you do, you will see how easy it is. But if you don't pay attention to it, along comes the virus, along comes the malware, and say, do you hear me now? Because now you really have to address it. And what you're really wanting people to do is to step in and just adopt to the new system. It's a new energy. It's a new vibration out there. It's asking us to rise up and step into that vibration of knowingness, of nowness. But a lot of people, so much in their head, isn't it? I can hear right now, but. And we really need to get the but out of it, don't we?
Yes, very much so. So this is very, very simple, but simple is not easy.
Yeah.
And so in a way, we are so wound up in how we're moving around and how we've learned to defend ourselves, how we've really learned to rely on the rational mind, and we give it a tremendous amount of responsibility, a great part which isn't its function, and yet we basically tell the mind to do numbers of things. The rational mind's job is to keep you safe and have you fit in. Now, just hear that. The job is to have you, keep you safe and have you fit in.
There
But
is
do you
no
want
box
to
big enough.
do you want to fit in?
No.
And so, you know, so we basically are very much attuned in that process to looking externally from ourselves, getting our validation, our cues from the external nature of ourselves, determining which of that external nature kind of feels good and which doesn't, and avoid that. And then basically see if I'm acceptable to that outside world. Now, people on one hand really get, it's important for me to dress well, to speak well, to do all these things well. So,
representation of self.
Right. So they like me. But if you go a little bit deeper than that, there is a whole aspect of us which we've learned something really very specifically of how to survive, and I'd say survive in a light way. Because growing up, one of the things that we've done in listening to the mom, dad, teacher, minister of life, and let's give them the benefit of the doubt that they loved us, they had the best interest in us, but in real terms, they create us in their image.
What they know.
Exactly. And they knew what their parents knew, what their parents knew, what their parents knew. So one of the things about the shifting operating system is it's time to really break a lot of those patterns of simply doing it the way it's always been done. But you can't take your baggage. So in a way, the challenge really is, I don't want to look at my baggage. I stuffed it away in this backpack. I didn't like that. I was embarrassed. I was humiliated. They made fun of me. But in real terms, when you start to get into present time, it's all about this baggage. And it's not about fixing yourself and improving yourself. One of the things, if you really were able to get into present time, stop, take a breath, and then just assess what I'm about to say, your life changes. It's really that simple. And the statement is, see, when somebody says you're not okay, you're stupid, you're not smart, you're not attractive, you're never going to succeed, in real practical terms, it's somebody else's opinion that they are handing to you as a gift. And then what we do is we accept it in our youngness, our simpleness, our unwisdomness. And what we do is it doesn't feel very good.
No.
And then we hold on to it and we ask the most inappropriate question in the world, what's wrong with me?
Right.
There's nothing wrong with you. You can't be not okay. Right. But we take this opinion that many times has a lot of charge on it, and we ask the question, what did I do wrong? And the answer is nothing. But then we spend the rest of our life trying to figure out what I did wrong. Why am I not acceptable? Why don't I fit? Why don't they like me? And see, the question is, why don't they?
Yes.
Me. And the real terms, and I was really odd. I got off the phone about an hour ago with a woman who was taking our level 2 class. and is a psychotherapist. And she's out in front of herself. She's all wound up. She's insecure. But when you get into that psychotherapy role, she just puts on a different hat.
Yes.
And very capable, but capable for you.
Yeah.
Not capable for her.
Exactly. I relate to that one. Yes.
In that case, all I did was just ask one question and she lost it. And it's so that veneer is so thin on a lot of us. But in her case, she had this belief that, well, psychotherapy is how it works, and I have to analyze myself. I have to go into my pain to fix it.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
So when you begin to realize that this gift has nothing to do with you, it was somebody's bad lifetime, 1 minute, one time, and you don't even remember who they are often, and they would deny all day long that they ever said that to you.
Right. Well, they've spent it already.
Yes, yes.
So they've given it to you, and it's like a petite person who, I'm a bigger woman, and I'm trying to fit into this petite dress. And it says, I'm not the same body shape or anything else. It's not my style. Why am I trying to squeeze into this and feel bad about myself because I don't?
Exactly. A shirt too small, shoes that don't feel good. Yeah. We trundle around in that all of our lifetime. But what if you could begin to realize that what I carry in my backpack has nothing to do with me, virtually literally has nothing to do with me. So I'll say it in these terms. What happens when I'm not okay, I hold an attention point, even though it's unconscious, on where I've stored all my not okay. Now, if you ask me, tell me where it is, I can't tell you.
Right.
But unconsciously, I know exactly where it is. And what I do is I am really clear that if somebody says, let's go to lunch at this restaurant where I had a bad experience once upon a time, I'm going to say, oh yeah, oh no, actually I can't have lunch today. And what we'll do is we draw these lines that prevent us from, but the interesting part, and it's so simple, and yet simple is not easy.
No.
That when you sit down and you come into present time and you take a breath and you simply move into a different layer of thought. I'll talk about this in a minute. You don't think in the same place all the time. There's multiple layers in where a person it's like a room, and every room is different. Mm-hmm. But what we do is we hold ourselves hostage to these vibrations, I'm not okay. But when you can get into a place that you can take that breath, get into present time, and bring your attention into present time, and like yourself, that's really the key piece.
Yes.
Because people say, well, when everybody else approves of me, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
No, you're going to be there a long time.
Yeah.
When you decide I'm okay, when you sit and enjoy the flowers, enjoy the little baby rabbit, when you see the sunset and you really savor that, everything about you that's held in those attention points of I'm not okay, it's like cups underwater holding air bubbles.
Yeah.
They simply, when I'm okay, those cups turn right side up and I'm not okay just dissipates into the air. So literally, I mean, this is thousands and thousands of people in Mastering Alchemy. Once you recognize this has nothing to do with me and I'm okay, everything starts to change. And it's not work. It's because those things I thought I was not okay about, once they evaporate, not only the charge is gone, you do not remember what they were.
Right.
Your memory does not hold attention on things that have nothing to do with you. It's you that hold the attention on them.
It's like shifting. Shifting of an energy barrier, isn't it? You rise up in your energy, you rise up in your vibration, and you want to resonate with people on that same vibration. So if somebody comes along and is trying to kind of hit on your barrier, upset you, it's when you're in that sphere, you recognize what's being done, but you don't take it on. It's not a matching vibration. So it's going to bounce back off your vibration. And it took me a very, very long time to do it, because I was used to take everything on. Oh, it must be my fault. I must be doing something. I must be inviting it, or I must be creating it. And I realized that if I just abstain from it and stay in my own energy and in my now, I'm actually so much more productive in what I need to do, and in embracement of who I am, because you are who you are. That's your gift to you and to the planet. You're not meant to be somebody else's image. And when we embrace that, embrace our own energy, now we can really step forth in what we're here for and what we're really meant to do. And yes, people are still going to try and do conflicts around you, but you realize, thank you for the gift, but I give it back. It's not mine to receive.
Yeah. See, but there's an aspect of us being okay. There's lots of alignments around okay that we don't recognize.
Right.
And so the question of how do you become conscious of being okay is a very legitimate question. And so in Mastering Alchemy, one of the very first things we teach is a series of concepts. We'll call them tools, but they're very simple. They're awarenesses that are naturally within your alignment that you don't recognize.
Yeah.
And so, for example, we all have an aura, and that aura pretty much reliably, if you were to take your hand and stick its arm straight out in front of you and turn your palm towards you, approximately plus or minus, that is where a person's aura is. Mm-hmm. It goes all the way around you, over and below you. So one of the things, though, if you can have a concept that I'm going to determine where I start and stop. Now, that's not correct, but just as a concept. Mm-hmm. And right on that point, if you begin to recognize, here's where I start and stop, we'll call it, and you create a point. Now, in tools, we create a rose because it's a simple something people can understand.
Yeah.
But you put that rose right out in front of you on the edge of your aura, and you recognize it goes all the way around you. And you basically make a decision from my heart to the rose is me.
Right.
And everything on the other side is Shakespeare's theater to entertain me.
Right.
Now, it sounds fairly simple, but do it.
Yes.
So from this point to me is me. And you pull your attention kind of into your circle, into your space. Hold the rose there and observe the world through the rose. Now, that all begins to be very natural quickly. It's not a protection, it's not a keep out, it's not a barrier, it's not a defense mechanism. It's just a point that says, from here to here is me.
Right.
The amazing part of that is all of a sudden, all of these things that you hold yourself hostage to, and you should, and how come, and I have to hurry up, they start to just simply fall away.
Right.
Because really aren't the constructs that relate to you, but they're constructs of the outside world on how you should be.
Yes, and I think that's when you really start observing yourself and your position here and what you're here to do, and you stop taking on things or stop doing things because they were expected of you, and start doing things because this is who you are and what you want to do, because you know that's part of your purpose. And I think it's a wonderful filtration barrier that's there that allows you to be your I am. And, you know, when we're strong in our I am, we can step up and be a we are. We can bring ourselves to the orchestra and be an instrument that plays in beautiful symphony of life. But we have to first be that very secure in I am, don't we? In that honoring who we are. Because if we don't, we are that constant tornado chaos, constantly spinning around. What if, but, you know, he did, she did, am I, you know, and it's constantly the question and never the answer. The answer is within our stillness, within that rose parameter of our own energy. And we find such a sense of peace when we're there. And it's a self-assuredness where you stop trying to live up to these expectations of who decided I should be this, or I should be that, or I'm only worthy if I am that. All of that just falls by the wayside. You see the value within yourself, in your contribution to life, in who you are and why you are. And I think it's a wonderful place to be. And I mean, the reason why you say it is so simple, but people fight it, is because we're constantly looking for something to be more complex.
Well, we're constantly in motion.
Mm-hmm.
See, we really, the whole body is in motion. The whole thought process is in motion. And see, one of the things that begins to happen when you begin to be conscious of this rose, the point of delineation, the ability to just become aware right here expands significantly. And the ability to be in present time becomes conscious because you're not needing to defend yourself or get approval from that external world.
Right.
But one of the things that is really valuable is, I pointed to a minute ago, is understanding that you think in multiple layers of yourself. And so when we are in that hurry up, not paying attention, out of present time space, generally we're leaning into the future or the past. It's like, I have to, this must happen. And it's as if there's a lean. Mm-hmm. And in that lean, you eliminate many places of observation and layers of thought. When you can get into this present time space of just observing and being right here, being present with yourself, there's an aspect that you begin to engage in the higher mind, and you begin to engage in the heart. Mm-hmm. And that vibration it opens up these resonances in the thought process. And if you just call this a fourth layer of thought, it's really where you have curiosity, where you wonder, but you don't need the answer. And something real remarkable happens when you begin to play in that space. You begin to realize that the answer lies exactly where the question is asked. Mm-hmm. I don't have to go and search for my am I okay or my well-being. And literally, you ask a question, and you've had it happen in your life where you ask a question, you go, oh, let me think about this. Oh, okay, I can do that. That's it. It's just this light bulb goes off, as some people would call it. But it's that layer of thought where the answer is right there with the question. And when you can get quiet enough to begin to consider that and begin to play at that, it gets to be rather remarkable in terms of how much falls away and how much begins to come to you rather than have to chase it.
I call that the knowingness. And, it's for me, it's something that resonates, the gut. Why do you know? I don't know. I just know. So I call that kind of the divine message that resonates with the heart, that goes into spirit action. And then the mind will know what it needs to know when it needs to know it. And that's always the knowingness that comes to you in the now. And you don't question it. You don't need to validate it. Sometimes you don't even need to truly understand it, because just knowing it, it will unravel as it needs to. But it requires a great deal of trust, because you don't need to validate it. You don't need to explain it. It just is. And in that knowledge, there is a sense of peace. And I think that's where the creativity comes in too, because it allows you to open up and explore. I'm always a scenario person. I'm always traveling in my mind, a blueprinter. And then something will come up. That picture needs to stay. All I have to do is put it out there and wait for the right time, for the synergy and the synchronicity of life in my builders to help me build it. But I think we're inclined to want to, I have this image, so therefore I must act on it right now. And that's not always the point, is it? It's paint the picture. It's an invitation for others to come, but it's not a dictation as to when. So I think we have to step a lot into allowing, don't we?
Very much allowing comes into play. But when you've got a backpack full of I'm not okay,
you're right.
It's very hard to smell the roses, as they say. So there is an aspect of all of what you say is very correct. And there are many people that will travel that journey and just keep playing in that space. But one of the things that happens partially in that space is I accept this process that you just described really well, and I'm going to play in that process. There are also avenues that basically allow you to recognize that there's an additional sense of knowing that comes into the process that allows you to create the experience, not just wait for it to kind of show up. And it's really a wonderful place to begin to recognize all the capacity of creation that's available to us that we don't know because we view the world in such a narrow perspective. Even our spirituality, many people view from a very narrow place. I watch people, and it's kind of a horizontal spirituality. It's like, oh, I read a book and I want to talk to you about it, and then we'll talk together, and then we'll go to a movie, and then we'll go for a hike. And it's actually this kind of rotation in a stated space that doesn't really grow. It's fun, it's interesting, but one, doesn't get rid of the baggage, and two, it doesn't open up the possibility of being what you just read in that book.
Right. That's the big difference. Is we're asking people to step into beingness, and so I always say is find something to believe in, take action on that belief, and commit to that action, because it is something that when you feel something, this feels so right. It don't just stay in the feeling. Act it out. What can you do with this feeling? Where can you go? And I think one of the things is that instinctually we're explorers. We're adventurous. We love putting on a backpack, but the backpack has to be filled with tools and knowledge that will help you on your forward journey, not a past journey, a forward journey, and just go out and explore the opportunities. And it's like, well, you've never done that before, but that's the point. I've never done it before. Let's explore and see what happens. And I think we need to step into that adventurous spirit, don't we? And we can't do that if we're dragged down by, this old, outdated coat. We can go to Gore-Tex now. It's lighter. Take that with us. So I think, again, going back to the computer of, you can still work on an old computer, be swearing at it and feeling frustrated because it's not living up to your expectation. Or you can upgrade to finer tools that will actually limit what you need in your backpack completely and set you forth. But you've got to have that willingness to explore.
Exactly. And sometimes it really is as simple as liking yourself.
Yeah.
But, I mean, really, it's in the liking yourself that the I'm not okay cannot survive. And this is something where then people get into their head and start to think, well, I have to do something. Actually, no, you don't. The more you stay in present time, and the more you just enjoy right now, and not what's coming next week, enjoy the process. I've been for about 3 weeks building a waterfall with real large rocks in my backyard, and not with machines, having to move these rocks. And it is going to be a fabulous waterfall whenever that happens.
Right.
I'm enjoying moving the rocks and digging the dirt and getting really dirty. And it's like, well, I can kind of see it, It's in that process. The waterfall will come.
You're allowing. You're exploring and you're not dictating how that waterfall must be. You're just building it and allowing it to create itself through a joint creativity.
Yeah. And in my case, the joint creativity is with the elementals. And
yes.
So they go sit on the rock, go sit on the chair and look at that rock you just put into place and just look at it. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, if I just turned it a little bit to the left.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes.
And they just sit and say, we're showing you, just do it.
Again, it's surrender to the allowing. Also, surrender to the receiving. The thing is that we're always going to get those answers. They're always going to be there if you allow yourself to be in that present now to receive it. And once you receive it, what do you do with it? Or mull it over, look at the rock, wait for that vision to come of what you're meant to do with it. But again, I think we go back to one of our conflicts within ourselves. It's not only the judgment of everyone else or everybody else's baggage on us. It's still this, I need to be in control. I hear this so often. I need to be in control. The only control we have is letting go of control altogether, really, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. You can manage. You can see, this is when you get into present time and when you begin to have skill sets and when you begin to recognize that you're the creator. This is your play. You're the actor, the star actor in your play. And you can basically begin to embrace that from that standpoint and start to play in a little different layer of consciousness. You begin to realize there are tools that are at your disposal of how creation creates. Now, there's a knowledge base in that. It's not just a wake up and, oh, I think I'll try this. It's really an understanding. But what makes it so great is as you understand how energy works, how wisdom works, how knowledge works, how consciousness works, how source works, and you create in the light of source, in your own light, reflecting back to source what source is, then it begins to be a wonderful puzzle that unfolds.
Yeah.
And you're the creator, you're the choreographer, you're the composer, you're the orchestra director. And it's like, oh, and you make mistakes.
Yes,
now, mistakes are really wonderful things, because it's simply like writing a story and going, that's not right. Well, go back to that one sentence. Just change the noun, change the adjective, amplify it, close it down. Tools of creation.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you begin to be very excited about the creation.
Because it flows. You know, it flows in that knowingness, and it just comes flooding out of you. Whenever I write or whenever I do anything, it comes out. I can review it afterwards. I can edit it afterwards, right?
Correct.
But I just let it flow out, because it's something that wants to come out of me. Because in it coming out of me, it is teaching me something. I'll reread it or listen to it, and I will learn something, because while you're so busy in that now of that flow, you're in it. When you listen back or read it back or art or whatever, it now tells you another story, and then it can be a real aha moment. Okay. I actually didn't realize it's just answered a question that I hadn't even asked the answer. They asked the question to. And that's the thing, is that there's always answers there, isn't there? It's just that sometimes we are too busy looking to actually receive them.
One of the simple little ahas I found in life is I had a business partner, and he said, you plan 3 times and you know the first 2 are incorrect. You plan 3 times and you know the first 2. That doesn't mean you wait till the 3rd one to be right.
Yeah.
It's you really give it your best, and then all of a sudden you realize, well, I'm in London and Singapore on the same day. That's not going to work real well.
Yes.
So you know that's going to happen. And that knowing it's the first 2 are not correct give you an enormous amount of freedom to be creative, to not be limited to getting it right.
Yes.
And see, that's where people we watch get really hung up, is I got to do it right. Well, what's right?
But that's the point. It's like a recipe, you have the recipe, and so cooked it this way, you've cooked it that way, and it's like, but it doesn't taste the same. Have I failed? No, you just created a different version of it. Is it wrong? Is it right? No, it just is. Enjoy it. We get so hung up on this perfection. I think the most beautiful things are the imperfections of us, because that's what makes us who we really are. And I think that we need to stop, labeling. And we also need to stop labeling ourselves. When we will stop labeling other people when we stop labeling ourselves.
Yeah. And it just begins to be a process of exploring and finding.
Yes.
So
a willingness to. Right? And that's the first and foremost. Now, we talk a lot today about people in depression, and people who then go into addiction, or worse. And sometimes it's the mind and the psyche and the spiritual thing, they're just not in alignment. And sometimes it's a physical thing. Do you work with people that are truly, the chemistry of them is off? Because I think the chemistry can be changed with everything else when you get it into sync, but still sometimes that is a battle.
Well, the chemistry of physicalness is in the process of kind of the spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. The physical is the last in the process to be really kind of broken. So if you're walking down the road and you're in a great space and you have just ate a wonderful ice cream and somebody says to you, you have a funny nose. And what happens is your first thought is, oh, what's that about? But then you begin to flash on memories of your life. Like when you were a little kid, you had a big nose, your head wasn't as big yet, and people used to laugh at you. So you immediately go to that and you drop that thought into the emotion, and this is not a good thing.
Right.
So thoughts are electrical, emotions are magnetic, a huge piece of information for someone to understand, because as soon as you start to think that thought, oh, this isn't good, it's as if you begin to create this winding of an electrical cord around a magnet, creating this very intense electromagnetic field. And you keep saying, I'm not okay, I'm not okay, I'm not okay, I'm not okay, I'm not okay. And that intensity gets to be very tight. If you walk around in life basically holding on to, I'm not okay, that begins to affect the physicalness. First, it begins to be an irritation, and then an inflammation, and then a swelling, and then something breaks and stops functioning. So people say, can you heal my physicalness? There's ways of doing that quicker than not, but basically it's when you start to like yourself, you'll recognize your hips go back into alignment and you stop limping. So it's really the mental emotional space. And one of the things about this shift that we're experiencing right now, we're in transition. So everything is in chaos and you cannot take your baggage. So the shift is very much pushing on your emotional mental state to get rid of these things. One of the things that we work on in Mastering Alchemy, but it's about to start to happen over the next coming years in people's space, is that mental and emotional body were never meant to be two. They were constructed to be one. And in the unconsciousness of third dimension, what people do is they have a thought and they unconsciously draw the emotion to the thought. I'm angry, and then they fill in the blank with the emotion. Or there may be an immediate reaction in emotion, and they have a word for that emotion. Now, what happens is it's reactionary response to a circumstance. But when that mental, emotional body go back together, you have in present time the opportunity to see a circumstance, choose a thought and an emotion that complements the thought to engage in the experience.
Right.
You begin to be much more capable of demonstrating yourself as you start to play in these different layers of thought, and very specifically as that mental and emotional body begins to be
the
understood.
attunement of self. Yeah. I mean, it's we need to be emotionally tuned in, because we need to understand what those emotions are there. If they're speaking to us, there's obviously a reaction to something, but it's not become emotional about it. Because when you become emotional about it, now, as you said, you're magnetizing it and allowing that emotion, which was just there to tap you on the shoulder. You're feeling sad, you're feeling tired, you're feeling this. It's not all of a sudden, the pimple into a volcanic eruption. It's, you understand what it's there for, but don't let it get exaggerated. And if you magnetize it, it's going to exaggerate. Then it gets beyond control. And you don't know how to manage it anymore because it's now managing you.
Very often. So there's a piece of information that's useful that I find that people ask occasionally, what's the difference between an emotion and a feeling? And the answer is really kind of obtuse. But once you begin to recognize that the rational mind is there to keep you safe and have you fit in, that's its job. One of the things that the rational mind has learned to do is navigate your safety and navigate your permissions. And so what it has done is it's created its own script. And part of that script is emotions. Now, here clearly, emotions are created by the rational mind to be able to navigate its dangers.
Right.
And so emotions have edges to them. The heart produces feelings. So anger, rage, resentment, jealousy, domination, imposition, when you put your attention on those words, there's edges.
Right.
They don't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
But when you put your attention on words that are driven from the heart, appreciation, gratitude, here, let me give you words that are not usually put in that. Certainty, capable, gracious, seniority, presence, focus. All of those are words of the heart. Some are masculine words which have structure to them. Others, appreciation, are feminine words that have flow and curve. The understanding masculine and feminine from a spiritual standpoint, not a body standpoint,
Right.
not a psychological standpoint, but from a creative standpoint, you begin to understand how the heart creates in structure and flow based on the sound tones that the heart utters. Graciousness, kindness, appreciation, certainty, dignity, humility. There's no edges
Right.
on your spiritual alignment of thought and emotion.
And when you step into heart, I mean, it really is an elevation. You know, when you come from heart, you can actually feel the like the love of arms being wrapped around you. You know, this is why people are constantly drawn to things that make them feel happy. You know, rescuing of animals, cute animals, or somebody triumphing over something. You know, somebody that's come from an adversity and they've won. We're drawn to that from a heart center. And it makes us really feel that love and that connection and that celebration. And I think that feeling we all long for, but we are inclined to let those other feelings get in the way with the buts again, right? Or the dictation, or it should be, or what does it mean, instead of just staying in that heart space. And I think that's where that chaos comes around, isn't it? Bombarding your barrier, your extension of your rose, trying to pick the leaves off your rose, and you feel challenged. So there's a storm going on out there, and you don't want the storm to come in within here. So step into the heart and the spirit center, and it will keep you safe. It will keep you centered. It will keep you secure, because in the heart space, it's pure.
If you believe it.
If you believe it, yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And see, most don't believe it, because when you start to, my observation has been, when they start to get into that heart space, they have a set of thoughts that say they don't deserve it.
Right.
I'm not good enough. I fill in the blank. And there's the attention back out into the external world. Because if I was to stay here, I'm probably going to disappoint myself again.
You're right.
See, that's the same as the but. They just add a disclaimer onto it. So one of the things, this is where Mastering Alchemy, from my observation, has been so important. And this is a body of work that's taught by the Ascended Masters, the Lords of Light, the Archangelics. And they're basically saying, I guess in 2003, Metatron said, there's a path that has never, ever been walked before by humanity. And if you walk this path, your own evolution is what you will be playing in, your own ascension, the ability to hold the door open for all humanity to step into this heart fifth dimensional space, and elevating the earth back to its 12th dimensional, fully Christed state of being. Would you like to play? Out of that request came Mastering Alchemy with instructions from all these great beings about how to basically like yourself, how to create certainty and focus and seniority, and begin to learn to command your presence in such a way that you influence environments and landscapes into well-being. See, that's available. That's not horizontal spiritualism in a lot of ways. And that's available to everybody. I'm not saying, I'm not selling Mastering Alchemy at all. I'm just saying it's available. But as you begin to understand that process, the ability to go into the heart and recognize that's who you are. Everything else was the gifts from somebody who wanted to distract you into follow me in my image over here externally. So this process of this shift is beginning to disrupt a lot of consciousness. And if you continue to argue for your limitations, you're going to be disappointed, because you're going to get pulled, dragging and screaming, if you choose, through holding on to I'm not okay.
Right.
And so try out words like certain and capable and gracious, and just walk around feeling them, not thinking them.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to find a very wonderful evolution just happens.
It's like choosing to smell the rose or choosing to push yourself backwards through the rose thorns. And it's the thorns or the leaves. Which do you want to be? It doesn't have to be such a battle. I know that sometimes it feels like there's a tornado going on out there, and you want to extend your parameter, and sometimes all you have to be is your own beacon of light. We want to go out there and save this one and save that one or change this one. And ultimately, we all have that choice to make of what path are we going to feed, what path are we going to take. But if we can just become that beacon of light within ourselves, the I am enough. What I'm doing here is coming from the heart, coming from the soul and the spirit, and allow ourselves to shine bright. That will be the inspiration. That is the invitation for others to look for their own light within themselves. But we need to actually keep those parameters around us so that we can keep our light strong.
Yes, and to the average person, what does that all mean?
Mm-hmm.
See, that's great wisdom and guidance. And to a person who's kind of confused, how do I do that?
Right.
Is the question. How do I do that? And in a lot of ways, it's just as simple as going for a walk in the woods.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just simply step away from your every moment space.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is where words become very, very valuable, not in the speaking of them,
Mm-hmm.
but in the feeling of them.
Right.
So a word like certain, I could say to you, have you ever been certain? And people go, oh yeah, I know what certain is. But if I said, take a breath and close your eyes and just sit back in your chair and feel certain.
Mm.
And all of a sudden your shoulders go back and it's like you want to sit up a little bigger, and there's this sensation, this feeling in the body. What if you could just simply own that? I mean, make this, okay, I feel certain. What if you could translate that into your relationship space, into your communication space? In order to be certain and recognize it, you find yourself in present time.
Yeah.
And in present time, you have choice. When you're in that future space or that past space, you have reaction.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have choice. You get into a little slice of present time in third dimension, and it's, oh my God, this wasn't supposed to happen. You're in present time,
Mm-hmm.
but you are in a reactionary nature.
Yeah.
So this is different when you begin to get into that space of a word, whether in great words, gratitude, appreciation,
Mm-hmm.
they feel good, but also understand they are not structured words.
Mm-hmm.
Those are feminine words. Those flow and they move,
Yes.
and they ebb and they crest and they dissipate and they come back. A word like certainty is not a rigid word. It's simply a vibration of ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Or capable, seniority, present.
Mm-hmm.
In the structure, the flow happens. But without the structure, the flow doesn't.
Now that's really, really important, because when we're looking at, you have the creativity of the blueprint of the building you want to build, but it can't all be lovely curves. You have to have a structure that's going to hold all those beautiful curves. It's also find where your tranquility lies. Is it in the forest? It could be, I love walking through, an avenue of trees when the wind is blowing and the leaves are rustling. And those leaves are answering everything. They're speaking to you. You don't have to articulate you just feel the knowledge. You feel the answers come up within you. You've got to go and find something out there that is your release, that's something that lets you go, that you can tune into, that brings you back to center. But it is a removal of environment, and go to that environment where you can take your breath. And we can all find that. It's, for some it might be yoga, for some it might be this, it might be that, but just go and find what it is, where you can kind of get lost within your center and listen and allow to that real knowledge come to you, because it can't come to you if the thoughts are spiraling or if you're in tension, right? We're never going to get the right knowledge then.
Correct. You're not in alignment with the flow.
Right. Exactly. Flow, that's really important, but the structure is very important too. Is when you look, I've been watching a series on Netflix of architecture around the world. Some
Lovely
extraordinary,
setting.
there's some beautiful ones. There's one particular one in New Zealand where from the roof it looks like an origami. And
Yes.
when you go in there, because they wanted to face the river, but the light came from behind, the way they had designed that light to come through and then reflect on the ceiling, which is all different textures of wood, it just every single moment of the day, that light will be changing and constantly in a flow to keep you in a rhythm of life. But the structure of the building is such that it's really certain, that it's really solid, allowing
Yes.
that energy to go through. And I think maybe we need to look upon ourselves as this architectural being. What is our structure, our certainty that allows us then to have our fluidity into being and doing?
See, that's very much the yin and the yang.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes from an aspect of creator that see, in a way, the male structure has been real dominant for a long time. And so the structure that tries to dictate the curves. But in real terms, it's the feminine. It's the, I wonder if we could do this. I wonder how it would be possible. Question that has no edges, no structure to it, completely flowing. And then the structure says, I can build that. I can make that happen. I can direct that correctly. Yes. And so it's this ongoing flow of, but the feminine, how is it possible? I wonder, is the initial impulse of the Holy Spirit in creation.
When you look at, I'm, parent of 3 kids, all grown now, but when you are a mother, there's all these books on how to raise your children, but really there is no manual other than doing it. There's sharing of stories, little guidelines, but bottom line, it's the doing it. And everything comes out of necessity. Yeah, this has to be done, so you find a way to do it. And you don't stay so stuck into, but how? It's got to be done now. Let's just do it. Go with the flow. Just build it. And afterwards you look back, that worked.
Sure.
Why can't we take the same approach to life?
Well, you were originally intended to until you got short-circuited.
Yes.
So,
yes.
But the short circuit is not permanent.
No, that's the thing, right? But it's a willingness to accept your computer, is outdated. You need to reprogram. You need to delete some programs. You need to get with the speed, update that RAM, and the willingness to receive, the allowing of the building as well as the dreaming, but also knowing where is your parameter, and not worrying about what's going on out there, because who you are and what you do here will have a resonance that will go on out there, and you want to resonate out that peace, that love, that purpose, so that it has a beautiful ripple effect. So it's very, very important that we place this importance upon ourselves and our own beingness, because that's actually the answer and the solution to our problems in the world.
Quite often. Mm-hmm. And it's very much also just staying in present time and seeing the outcome, and then asking the question, what can I do now to make that outcome real in 3 weeks when I arrive?
Right.
And it's people get caught in the futuring of things rather than seeing it and then building it in the present moment.
Right. There's a lovely bamboo movie where it talks about planting the seeds of this particular bamboo root and watering it, nurturing it, and you have no evidence for 5 years whether it's growing or not. You just keep watering and keep nurturing it, and then over a space of 5 weeks, they kind of grow 200 feet. And, and that's the beauty of life, is that stop looking for the evidence. You are the evidence. Just keep watering and keep nurturing, and suddenly you'll see yourself grow. When your growth is there. But it's the nurturing of ourselves. It's something that we've not always been encouraged to do, have we? Because it's, we're asking you to be a little selfless, selfish, sorry, and
Yeah.
self-full, look after self, because you really can't look after anyone else until you look after yourself.
Absolutely. You have to give to yourself.
Yeah. And then
So
you'll be that beacon of light. Mm-hmm.
So it's exciting the way this is unfolding. And for a lot of your listeners and people who are saying, how do I do it?
Mm-hmm.
To a great extent, it really is just kind of step back and be right here and like yourself this minute. Just do it once, then do it twice. Just find that space where you can like yourself. And it's really easy to give you all kinds of reasons why, no, that's not possible. You don't understand. Sure, we all have been in those places before, but it's just simply step back in present time and you're going to find some really interesting shifts.
Right. And step into heart, right? You know, when something lifts your heart and makes you feel good, acknowledge it. You know, what is it that makes you feel good? Really savor that feeling. Step into heart. Because when it comes from a place of heart, you know, that really is the ultimate divine truth.
Yeah, and we both know this. The challenge is you don't understand. I have this problem that's really causing me a lot of problem.
Haven't
So
we?
the question is, which feels better?
Yeah.
I mean, just ask yourself: frustration, dilemma, irritation, resentment, happy, laughter. I'm enjoying myself. You know, which one feels better? And begin to go
and
there.
It doesn't mean that we don't have problems. It doesn't mean that there aren't issues that we have to deal with. It's just that when you do it from that place of heart, that issue doesn't become so mountainous. And you actually find an easy way to resolve whatever has come at you, because you're not facing it with anxiety, that crippling anxiety. You're facing it with, okay, I know I've got this. And just a sense of tranquility.
Yeah, and it becomes an ownership in the heart space. And one of the things that's very valuable is to begin to recognize, I am not my stuff.
Right.
I'm fine. And I have problems. I have challenges. I have divorce. I have jobs. I have money. I have all those things. You know, they're right here and I am fine.
Right.
See, if you get into the space of I am fine, you restructure the point of observation of the problem.
You stop pushing it to the outer perimeter.
I am the problem, and my problem is I think it's Einstein. You can't solve the problem from the problem.
No.
The real first piece is I am not my stuff. I'm okay. And yes, this sucks. This isn't fun. This is going to be a real challenge. There's going to be consequences, and I'm fine.
Yeah.
And that distinction between the problem and I'm fine is just a split second, but yet it's eons of time worth a solution.
Yeah. And you know, whatever is happening around you, it is around you and it can be dealt with, but don't let it become you, because you are more than that problem.
Well, you can't rearrange the furniture when you are the furniture.
Yes.
You can't change the problem when you are the problem.
Yeah.
But when you step out of it, you realize, oh, if I just put the couch over there and the chair over here, wow, the whole room opens up.
Oh, yes. Now it's easy. I'm not tripping over everything. Yeah.
And sometimes it's just that simple.
Yeah, I know.
And yet we fret and we fret and we worry and we try to figure out from the problem. So
it's the why. Well, just why not just shift this and shift that? It's the willing to shift. And I think sometimes actually if we listen to our children or we simply watch our animals at play, we will see the simplicity in which they do things. And if we could adapt and adopt some of their perceptives on things, we would actually find it's a lot more simple for us as well. You know, this whole thing about our intellect coming in, it's not the intelligent approach. The heart has its own intelligence, and you can never, ever question what the heart is. So it is just go with it. Step outside, have a look at it from the inside and from the outside in, and then go in the inside and rearrange. All right?
Lovely idea.
All we have to do is act on it. Right?
Yes.
Again, as you say, it's not just about the talking of it or doing a thesis on it. It's living it, just stepping into it. So with your courses, with your book, How did they find the book? How did they join the courses? What have you got to offer? Where did they find you?
Well, the book came out of the course, and the course is masteringalchemy.com. And there's tons of free information. Our whole business model is to give you a lot of substantive stuff that allows you to choose. But the whole course is about basically beginning to define yourself in the rose, grounded, center of your head, understanding in the heart, and then begin to recognize that I'm in this world, but I'm not of this world. Real big piece.
Yes.
And that comes quickly. And then you start to realize there's a lot to me that can be recreated. You know, there's something called the Eye of Horus, which is not a necklace or a mystery school. It's a series of connections in the brain that open up all of those psychic spiritual abilities to start to function as a unit of perception. And then it begins to move into building, putting that mental emotional body back together, opening up awareness into the higher layers of consciousness. So the course is over time. It's not a 2-weekend and you get a certificate. We wrote the book, which you can get on Amazon. It's a course in Mastering Alchemy, to basically lay out a lot of the tools, because we know people aren't going to take the course.
Yeah.
So here are the tools. The real beginning tools that allow you to choose your life rather than react to your life. And then it moves into quite a few of the instructional pieces, numbers of the conversations between myself and all of my friends, Archangel Michael and Metatron and Yeshua and Raphael and on, who basically we have conversations. And the way it was structured is they say, we want you to know this in a conversation. And then I would take that information and reconstruct it energetically to the point where hopefully it was as simple as see the dog jump. And it becomes absorbable.
Right.
A lot of that is in the book. See, the two real big pieces is you don't go to the world comes to you if you just stand quietly. And as you stand quietly, everything is absorbable. It is not something you have to learn. You already know this. So the book basically lays out the program, not as fully as the doing the work does, but it gives you a lot of information about how this shift is unfolding and what's out in front of you in that higher fifth dimensional space and multi-dimensional space. And it's on Amazon. It's of course, and one of the things about the book is we gave a whole dedicated website to the book. So there's lots of additional recordings that we've done with groups in the program, the work programs. And there's a whole aspect where we also hold webinars for those in the book program.
Wonderful.
So in the book, you're getting far more than a book.
Right. And that link to the book site there?
Is you can go right on Amazon for the book and just look up masteringalchemy.com, or you can come to masteringalchemy.com, our site, and buy it on the site.
Right. And is there another site to, if people wish to take the program with you?
Go to Mastering Alchemy and all of the information is right there. The first piece is level 1, and it's like 14 hours of work plus another 4 or 5 hours. And I say work lightly, it's more play. And it's me saying, do this, notice what happened. And it's, I think we sell it for $75.
Wow.
So we're interested in people understanding how to begin to align themselves to deal with what's coming,
right,
and what we're currently in, and how to simply step into this new earth construct, right. Keep that real light in terms of a whole new strata of how are you going to live a life in a higher fifth dimensional space where words like safety and trust don't even exist, because there's nothing unsafe and nothing to distrust.
Yes. And of course, for some people, that is unbelievable. But the more you're willing to take the walk, take the journey. And, you know, the thing is again, life can happen to you and your reaction to it is what you're going to get. But you've also got to realize you have to participate in your life. You have to participate in your journey. You have to be willing to make the choice to take those steps. There is no downloadable app. There is no quick fix. It is an unraveling over time. It is a realization and coming into yourself over time. And when you're willing to invest in yourself, financially, emotionally, divinely, with heart and soul, then you will actually then really see the enrichment of yourself, the abundance of yourself grow. And that is where you want to get. That doesn't come from, a big purchase, a weekend, or rah, rah, rah. It comes from being willing to take the steps, one step in front of the other, dedicatedly, openly, willingly, lovingly. Because really, ultimately, we want you to love yourself, because when you do, that's when you truly become that beautiful beacon of light.
Yeah, some assembly required.
Like that, yes, most certainly. And what a difference when people reach the other side. It's then really truly understanding that beautiful energy and understanding that, I think, people's purpose. A lot of the time people are flapping in the wind, what am I here for? When you're willing to take this journey and step into your own light and love, you understand what you're here for and what your contribution is. Because you are either a problem in the world or you're a solution. When you step into that solution, that's when you're in that resonance of love that becomes that solution, that raising up of that elevation, that 5th, 6th, 7th, up to the 12th dimension. It's all there, but you've got to be willing to take the journey and participate, and be willing to do it without control, the allowing, the building of the structure, only putting in your backpack the knowledge you need along the way, and stepping into your own wisdom as well. So a beautiful journey if someone's willing to take it. And it's wonderful that you've got somebody here that has simplified it for you. That big word, simple. He's simplified it for you. And he's literally giving you the steps, the 1, 2, 3, all the way up. It's not like, here, you're on your own now, bye. You've given them all the different layers that they need. And for some of it, they're going to go and walk for a while on their own. And they go, you know what? I've reached this level, but I need a little help now for the next stage. And you're there for it. And the book is there for it. And that's what you are. You're not somebody who's doing it for them. You're that companion of knowledge to help them do it for themselves.
And it all works.
Mm-hmm. If we're willing to let it. Thank you so much, Jim, for coming back with us and sharing your wonderful wisdom. Yet again, people can listen to your other show. It's here on the posting, or just go to selfdiscoveryradio.com and put in Jim Self. You'll see both of his shows come up there. I encourage you to listen to the first one as well, where we do talk more about the book. But everything's waiting for you. Everything is there. All you've just got to be willing is to take a bite. To devour it and savor it and just see how much it feeds you. And when you do, you'll truly understand. So thank you very much, Jim. And to everyone else, we wish you lots of love and light. And remember, we need you. So please step into self, and you'll be very glad you did. Until next time, folks, bye for now. For more wonderful shows like this, please go to selfdiscoveryradio.com, podcasts, and see our lineup. And if you wish to support us, we have a funded button. Please stay tuned for our next show.